Chapter 2 is the sales function and multi-sales channels. This chapter focuses on the sales function, the various channels in which the sales function can be carried out, and the aligning of the firm's strategy in the multi-channel environment. Salespeople have to take an active role in the supply chain. Selling in a multi-channel environment means that salespeople and sales managers have to integrate their activities with the other channels through which the company sells. Customers want to buy through the channel that is most convenient, as we know, and get service in the most convenient way. This chapter covers types of salespeople, since outsourcing functions is a form of multi-channel selling. We present agents, reps, and other types of outsourcing options in this chapter. After completing this chapter, you should be able to explain what the sales function consists of and how salespeople affect the firm's supply chain. You should also be able to identify the various channels in which the sales function can be carried out. And finally, explain how effective sales management efforts can align a firm's strategy in a multi-channel environment. We first look at this issue of the sales function itself. Now, the sales function includes locating potential buyers, persuading them, and consummating the transaction. Not to be confused with the selling process, the sales function can be undertaken by salespeople, but can also be carried out in other ways. For example, a company might run an advertisement to attract customers to its website where they can purchase the products. The firm's service department might take care of any post-sales issues these customers may have. In all likelihood, however, a firm's sales force will be responsible for providing marketing information to the firm's strategic partners by capturing and sharing information about potential customers, as well as information about competitors. If you look at this issue of supply chain, this is actually illustrated in your textbook in Exhibit 2.1. It is the complete, as you see here, the complete process of events and people needed to bring product together. Salespeople can also play an important role in managing the supply chain itself. This role can be considered to be passive, as is the case with this when a salesperson turns in a sales forecast. Which brings us to the point, a key term of sales forecast. A sales forecast is what the salesperson expects to sell in the particular time period. Other employees in the supply chain then use that information to determine what needs to be ordered and delivered to customers. In this case, the sales forecast influences what happens in the supply chain, but the salesperson is not taking an active role in influencing the chain's activity. As you can see here, perfect example of the passive role, as we mentioned about the sales activity, and the active role, which we can actually go through here and describe, is a salesperson actively seeks to influence the supply chain. In the other case, the example is the buyer that needs special payment terms will need the salesperson's help in securing those terms from the company. Another example is the salesperson might need to arrange expedited delivery in order to meet a buyer's needs. If a company is selling in a multi-channel environment, it is using a number of methods or channels to accomplish the selling function, as shown here in Exhibit 2.2. The Internet, for example, can actually be used in several ways. Electronic Data Interchange, or EDI, takes advantage of the Internet by directly connecting the customer's inventory management systems with the seller's order of entry. When the inventory management system notes that the buyer's inventories are low, it automatically places an order for replenishment. You can see here there are a number of other different methodologies we've talked about or have been able to talk about: catalogs, telemarketing, internet, looking at a customer portal. Now, if you look at the producer will flow information to the agent, and the information will flow to the B2B marketplace. The key issue here then is for salespeople is to provide value to their customers. As we have explained earlier, salespeople are expensive. The most expensive way to reach customers, in fact. All other channels, which we've talked about: internet, call centers, retail stores, catalogs, and trade shows, are cheaper. So salespeople have to provide additional value to their customers, or the customer will refuse to pay the premium needed to cover the cost of the salespeople. Now, because salespeople are the most expensive option to reach customers, companies pursue two strategies to reduce costs without sacrificing performance. The first strategy is to purify the sales job. That's shifting non-selling activities to low-cost alternatives. For example, creating a website to allow customers to track their own orders can eliminate phone calls to the firm's salespeople, freeing up their time for more selling activity. The second strategy, which we've heard a lot about, is outsourcing selling activity. Outsourcing is hiring another company to carry out a task or set of tasks. Outsourcing sometimes to another country, as the global sales management feature that we've seen, in particular outsourcing to India, we've heard a great deal about, can be a challenging proposition. To a large extent, these two strategies have proven very successful for many companies. Now, many different advantages of the company employed when you look at outsourcing, but there are also some advantages over outsourcing the sales force. And in the pharmaceutical industry in particular, we've seen that in some companies this has been a trend, so we need to note what these are. If the employee or the sales force is company employed, the company can exert greater control over their efforts, greater control over who is hired, and focus on only the company's products, whereas outsourced representatives might be free to sell many products by many other companies. Now, the advantages of someone being outsourced is that the firm's selling costs can be shared with other manufacturers, thereby reducing the cost per sales. You can establish relationships with customers from which the manufacturer can benefit, and then it can yield greater coverage of the market for the manufacturer, especially if you don't have coverage in a particular area. There are many different types of outsourced salespeople. We're going to list three of them here. Manufacturer's representative, manufacturer's agents, and agent and representatives. These are independent contractors who do not take ownership of the product and do not maintain an inventory. Then you have a distributor. These are individuals that sell for many manufacturers and take ownership of products. Key point: they sell them on consignment or otherwise maintain an inventory. Then you have individuals that are brokers. Brokers are interesting because they represent either the buyer or the sellers, and sometimes both. They carry an inventory of the products, but do not take ownership of any of the products. This next slide just lists the few manufacturing representative organizations that you can see here. When you look at types of company-employed salespeople, companies, of course, will employ inside salespeople. Those they sell at the company's facilities, either by telephone or in person. Then you have field sales representatives. They sell at the customer's location. And then account managers has responsibility for building sales within specific counts or accounts within a specific geographical area. Then you have vertical market representatives. These are accounts all operate in the same industry. You have retail sales representatives. They sell to customers who come into the store. You have trade representatives, of course. They sell to organizations in the supply chain, usually retailers. And then missionary sales representatives. These are what they call detail reps. They sell to people who recommend or prescribe a product to others, but do not personally use them. These are what you call types of company-employed salespeople. There's always a big issue about how you're going to align your territory. One of the things that we know when you're aligning your territory, your matching up strategy, is that you'd like to have seamless integration. That's a firm's customers can easily shift transactions across the various channels when you're aligning them. The goal, all areas have all the customer information they need so that the customer is treated properly. This is a challenge actually in most organizations, in particular sharing information. Alignment is something important. That's getting all the functional areas of the firm to work together. As we will see from discussions throughout the course, particularly when we make reference to the pharmaceutical sales representatives, this is a difficult task. Now, this includes the company's various salespeople, its inside representatives, geographical representatives, and customer service representatives, as well as the marketing organization and other organizations, manufacturing, finance. Everyone needs to be really on the same page. Alignment, of course, is key, occurs at all three levels. All three levels include the strategic, that's what the executives will create, the tactical, that's what the managers support, and the operational is what the salespeople engage. When we start looking at managers, in particular sales managers, we need to see how these sales managers can get the most out of these salespeople who are really concentrating more on the operational, which becomes a key point for us. There are many different areas to align, and we will see that there is a challenge with respect to aligning those. That includes technology, customer relationship management systems used by sales representatives, and supports marketing, the process and goals, that's lead management, and also it's sales metrics, that's marketing and sales have same sales targets for, in particular for a new product. In summary, selling in a multi-channel environment means that salespeople and sales managers have to integrate their activities with the other channels through which the company sells. The selling function can be accomplished through other channels such as web or call centers. Many salespeople also have to take an active role in the supply chain of their companies. The multi-channel environment means buyers want to buy and be serviced through the channels most convenient for them. These channels might not always be the same. In other words, the customer might prefer one set of channels for purchasing and a different one for receiving service. The various channels can include EDI, customer portals, and others. The multi-channel environment also means that firms can choose to outsource some or all of their sales activities. Manufacturers, reps, distributors, and brokers are often types of outsourced salespeople. Similarly, companies can choose to operate their own contact centers and outsource their operations to other firms. Now, whether or not a firm outsources some of its sales positions or functions, achieving seamless integration or alignment among them is definitely something that's important.